Welcome back to Kernel at the Buzzer. I'm your host, Colton Johnson. This week, we want to remind you that all the opinions on this podcast are the opinion of the speaker and the speaker alone and do not reflect the opinion of the entire Kernel. This week, it is again all Kentucky football. We're going to talk about the Cats' result against Southern Miss and look ahead to their game against South Carolina. All that and more next. Welcome back to Kernel at the Buzzer. I'm your host, Colton Johnson. This week, got two guests. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Jonathon Bruner, the assistant sports editor and football beat reporter for the Kentucky Kernel.
I'm Parker Scott. I'm also football beat reporter for the Kernel.
So it's safe to say Saturday, whilst it went well for Kentucky in the long run, could have been a little less bizarre. You know, I could have done with that. You could have done with that. Tell me about it, JB. Stay till 2 a.m. Tell me about it.
Hey, I mean, we were both there. You know, we luckily got into the press box before it really. But as we were coming in, we were like, man, it's getting dark out here. It's getting dark out here. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of kept happening. And then we just kept seeing update after update. They're delaying the gates. And then eventually, by the time it rolled around about 7:15, we were like, okay, this game's not starting on time. Nobody even on the field yet. Nobody's in sight.
Nah. It's like 7:15. You look out there, and it's just like crickets.
Ghost town. No fans in the bowl yet. I mean, it was almost eerie in a sense of just like.
It was bizarre.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. You know that ice cream stand was going crazy, though.
Oh, yeah. They probably are swimming in bread from that game.
I'm sure they're doing well. Parker, you got to enjoy the game. Well, enjoy for what it's worth, but you got to enjoy it in a different medium. What was it like for someone not there that was trying to get these updates on when it was happening and when it was starting, if it was starting?
Yeah, so I'd gone home for the weekend, and I was at a sports bar trying to watch the game with my family because we didn't have SEC Network at home, and I didn't realize that the weather was bad up in Lex and that it was going to be delayed until on one of the TVs that had the South Carolina Old Dominion game. It was just ending like on SEC Network, and I didn't realize until I got the little yellow thing on the bottom that said currently in a lightning delay, and I'm like, oh, really? And then I just kept checking Twitter for like hours to try to see what happened. I don't know. It took a while to get the updates. Eventually, I had to head home, and then was able to figure out a way to watch the game there. But
once it started, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And just saw them walking back in the tunnel randomly in the third quarter, and I was like, oh yeah, this might be it. So I don't know, but the game was good while it lasted.
Yeah. That's very true. The thing that killed me was, the weather. When it came to the weather, it was very seldom was it actually on top of the stadium.
Yeah.
It was just close enough for us not to play ball.
Right.
That was the good part.
That was the thing that we could see it. I mean, it was definitely lightning. I know that's a common misconception. It wasn't even doing anything. Oh, no, it was.
It was going.
I saw the video of it in the background of the light show. It was kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
there's fireworks on the horizon, too.
Yeah.
Legends Ballpark, they were going crazy over there.
There was a lot going on besides the game of football.
Okay, yeah. Now, let's talk about the actual game of football. 31-0. It was convincing. It would have been more if they got to play the latter quarter and a half, I mean, we talked about Brock before. Jonathon, I'll let you dive in on that. We talked about what we wanted to see from him. Is that what we saw?
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, you come out first possession, have the interception. That could not necessarily be all the way blamed on him. I mean, still an interception, still a turnover at the end of the day on the first possession as a Cat.
It was a tip, but it was a tight window. That's what I say.
Right. So, I mean, I would say can be some blame taken, some unlucky factors maybe. But, I mean, besides that, in the very first possession, you kind of saw him lock right in. I mean, it was what we expected. We expected this offense to kind of be exactly what it was, fast-paced, fast-moving, a lot of moving parts. And the part that really surprised me the most was his running ability. Like, they had always kind of talked about that, but I didn't know that was in his bag like that. I mean, the way he just would take off, no fear, no sliding whatsoever.
At all. Zero self-protection. Dude.
No sliding.
The self-preservation took a day off for sure.
Yeah, which that's something we can get into in a little bit when it comes to, like, if that's sustainable. But as far as he goes, I mean, his passes looked good. There was a couple reads where you were like, whoa, what are you?
May or may not have been a drop pick six in there. That's okay.
Yeah.
That was a tough read.
Yeah, there was a couple bad reads, but then there was also a couple where you're like, whoa,
Heck
that
of a
was
throw,
impressive.
yeah.
That was a good ball. I feel like there was a lot more of that was a good ball, that was a good read than there was the bad. Granted, some of the bad, he's not going to get as lucky as he did against Southern Miss if he does that in future games against the South Carolinas, the Georgias, etc. You can go down the list.
Yeah.
But besides that, I thought he looked really good. I thought the reads were good. I thought the offense as a whole looked good. My only knock or thing that might not last as much is they loved the little wide receiver kind of toss pass. They
jet
did that.
sweeps, they
Did
love
that
that.
a lot, and I think
They're going to get bury and kill is what I think.
yes. I mean, I think you have a leash with those. If they only work as well as you can surprise somebody.
Yeah.
And if you run it 10 times a game, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
By about the third time, the gig is up.
Yeah.
So now, but if they can create some different looks off of those and different things, okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I noticed that I was like, that might not work against
Georgia.
better teams.
Yeah.
Right. It's just not going to work. But overall, I thought the offense was solid, for real. I mean,
Want to look at the other side of the football. I mean, this was, like you said, this was a side of the football that we wanted. We expected them to come in, take care of business, no issues, and that's what they did. Parker, and watching that game, what you got to watch of it, what did you see from the defense? What did you like? Was it the typical, Dion Harrison doing their job, or what would you see from him?
I thought the defense looked really great. I mean, I expected a win, but I didn't expect it to be, as big of a win or like a shutout as it was. Yeah, the defense did great. Looked really good. Got the 2 interceptions, which was great. They're both from newcomers, from transfers, which I think is significant to show that they're filling in places of players that have, gone pro and stuff. All the usual stars, Weaver and Walker and all them,
Yeah.
all doing great. And I think Brad White's continuing to do a good job. It's just a matter if they can keep that up against SEC opponents. Because looking at the stats, like they only allowed 5 rushing yards in that whole game, which is just crazy to me. But,
I've wondered. I looked back at that. I want to know how skewed that was, because I think there might have been something with how they
the sacks.
counted the sack yards, because I think they had it Roadmaker down for like negative
Minus
50 rushing
15,
yards.
yeah. Still, if you take that out, it's only 20 yards, it looks like.
Which is nice.
But still,
Yeah.
that still is really good. But
It's very, very nice. I mean, I would say it was the complete performance that what Kentucky fans expected to happen.
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
It's like, it's the typical week 1 out of conference. They come in, get their check, you get your win, and everyone moves off, and they're all happy. The
Yeah.
beautiful thing about that is that the next week is typically a game that's a lot more fun to talk about.
exactly.
Fill me in, JB. What's going on with the South Carolina game?
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up the Southern Miss game, I thought it was, unlike Kentucky, did not see the typical week 1 rust. Southern Miss was never in this game.
Nope.
They were never in this game, and it stayed that way.
Got
and
to the red zone a couple times.
but even then, I think the most they could have made it was 7-10 at the time.
Yeah.
Or then by the time they got back there, it was already way done for.
Yeah.
So I thought that was impressive, and I think it's going to play right into the confidence they needed for the South Carolina game, which is a big one. I think it's
especially coming off the way they performed against Old Dominion.
yeah.
Sure.
I mean, it looks, this is one that you circle as a game that Kentucky needed. With this schedule, they need this one.
Yep.
Looking at how South Carolina just played, now you could almost consider it a must-win, in my opinion. Yeah. It's no longer they could really use this one. It's they need this one. They should get this one. Because, just looking at the way South Carolina played, they did nothing impressive.
No.
They did nothing impressive.
They were in a dogfight.
Exactly, and they should not have been whatsoever. And, with Kentucky not coming in with that rust to even paint the question of, are they going to be ready? They seem to be ready for week 1. They rose to the occasion after a 2-hour delay. If the recipe was ever there for something to go south, it was 100% there with all the shenanigans that occurred that night. And it didn't. It looked like the kick was still at 7:45, and it went exactly how it was supposed to go.
Yeah.
I think that builds a lot of confidence coming into this game, and it turns it into a must-win with South Carolina coming in with no momentum, Kentucky coming in with all the momentum in the world. And, you lose this game, especially with the commitment of Jasper today, you're going to have a lot more fans going win is tip.
Mm-hmm.
You just are, because all of a sudden coming in looking after next week, barring something insane happening, you're going to be 2-1.
Yeah.
If you're looking back after next week and you're 1-2,
yeah,
it's crazy how much of a swing game this is for the entire season.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be such a turnoff for fans so early if you can't even get this game done.
Yeah. I mean, I think every single college football player, college football coach, when you talk about a game, they only really care about the next one, which is fine. That's a good philosophy to have if you're an athlete. But there has to be some sense when you look at a game. If you have a game like South Carolina, and you look at the rest of your schedule, it's a type of game that warrants a bit of schedule looking.
Yeah.
Because you know the way that your schedule is, wins are going to be at a premium.
Mm-hmm.
And you only have so many, like, I'm looking at this schedule, and I know we've talked about it a crap ton of times, but I'm so serious when I say that there are 3 games outside of Kentucky's conference schedule, outside of, like, there are 3 games that I would consider, like, in that 50-50 margin.
Yeah.
I think Florida, as poor as they performed against Miami, you're never going to count out the Gators in Gainesville.
Nope.
Vanderbilt, it's not the same Vandy, but at the end of the day, you would like to say you can handle Vanderbilt. And then you have the South Carolina game, and this is a team that's not notable when it comes to overall season performance.
Yeah.
Just when they're matched up with the Cats, I mean, they've had their number. So, Parker, with a team like this that's had Kentucky's number for so many years that they haven't been able to figure out, you're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to see?
Yes, I mean, in the past 10 years, going back to 2014, Kentucky's won 7 of those 10 matchups against the Gamecocks. Mm-hmm. However, since Shane Beamer came in as their coach in 2021, they've won the last 2 of those games. He seems to know how to beat Kentucky. We didn't expect it to happen in 2022, and it happened again last year in a season where South Carolina wasn't even bowl eligible at the end of the season. It certainly was a rough game against Old Dominion. Lenoris Sellers, their quarterback, only went 10 for 23 on passing, which is definitely not something that Gamecock fans want to see. But it's just a matter of whether Kentucky can keep up the momentum from the last game.
Yeah.
Do what they did, maybe a little better since it's a stronger opponent. But yeah, I think if we see all the same things with both the offense and the defense, having both the new stars and the returners, do what they do best, and everything, like you guys said, everything just went really well in the Southern Miss game, and I think fans should be hopeful for this game and going forward.
Yeah.
And I didn't in my season predictions I didn't predict Kentucky to win the South Carolina game. Actually,
I have them losing it as well.
But yeah, I'm not sure how that would change now since we've seen week 1. But it's definitely possible either way.
Yeah.
But I'm maybe a little bit more hopeful than I was when I made the predictions. But
that's true.
Yeah.
I'd agree.
Me too.
I'd
for
agree.
Sure.
I mean, I don't really know. I kind of wanted to look at it from the opposing mentality because we've all been around Lexington. We kind of know what the morale is when it comes to football right now.
Yeah.
Like everyone, it's hopeful. It all went well. They want to head into the conference play and get things done. What do you think the mindset of a South Carolina Gamecock fan is right now?
I mean, they got to be thinking. I think they got to be thinking the same thing. This is a must-win. Because here's the thing: South Carolina football is starting to get to a point where you're gonna take your wins where you can get them. Kind of like Kentucky was before, in a sense of, as long as we can beat Louisville, we'll call it a success. I think that's kind of where they're at in their stage of the program. So they're going to pick and pluck their wins, and if they can say, we beat Kentucky again, we've got their number, we know how much they hate us now, which it's safe to say that Shane Beamer is not a fan favorite around here. I feel like that's quite a fair assumption. He's not going to get a hero's welcome come Saturday, to say the least. And so if they can hold that over BBN, we win again, and we ruin their season.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they would consider that a win. Yeah. And they would that's something they'd be able to hang their hats on come the end of the year when they're not even in a bowl game.
So riddle me this. So going into this game, looking at Kentucky as a whole, obviously there's a crap ton of pressure.
Yeah.
I want to answer from both of you on this. Is there more pressure on the Kentucky Wildcats, offense or defense, going into the South Carolina game?
I'm gonna go with the defense. I'm gonna go with the defense because this defense has already been kind of dubbed as one of those units that could have all-time potential under Mark Stoops, that are gonna win Kentucky games, that are gonna do this, gonna do that, gonna do this. You know, there's a little bit of pressure on the offense, but I feel like the defense has already been labeled all of these things, and the offense hasn't quite been labeled that just yet. So I think there's a lot less stakes on the offense to be so great because there's not as much expectation with the offense just because there were so many question marks, and to an extent there still is. Because, yes, everyone looked great in week 1. It's also Southern Miss. This is the first taste of conference play. So I think there's still question marks with the offense even after a dominant performance. But there's not question marks about this defense. Some people are already dubbing this defense as one of the best under Mark Stoops.
Yeah.
They were saying that coming into the season, and it got proven again with the shutout. So that's why I'm going to say the defense is under a little more pressure just because I think that fans are in their minds thinking our route to winning games is through the defense.
Yeah.
Our route to having a shot against Georgia is through the defense. It's not going score for score with them.
Yeah.
They don't see that as a way that Kentucky's going to win games, and I don't think it is either.
Yeah.
And I think the defense it will win in some games that maybe we might not expect.
Yeah.
Because I do think they are that good of a unit. But I also think that's going to come with the pressure the entire year of them living up to it. And I feel like Brad White's relationship with BBN has been kind of strenuous in a lot of ways. Because there's been a lot of, when it's good, like Florida last year, when they dominated Florida last year, it was great. Brad White masterclass, they were saying. But then you look at a game like Clemson, fans are blaming him for costing the game. So much soft coverage late in the game, let them march down the field. So, it's not like it's been sunshine and roses when it comes to Brad White. So I think this is going to be another game where he can kind of earn that stamp of approval, so to speak. And that's why I think a lot of pressure relies on the defense, where kind of with Bush right now, he's still the new guy. He's still the new guy. So, but with Stoops and Brad White, they've been here before. They know what the deal is. They've had elite defenses before. This is supposed to be another one. Prove it.
Yep. Park and light me. Offense or defense?
Well, it's certainly close between both, and I mean, in this circumstance, both certainly have pressure. But after thinking about it for a sec, I also have to say the defense. I mean, they're just really hyped up this year. Like you said, one of the best under Stoops. People are saying got potential high, first-round draft pick and Deion Walker, and then other players that BBN is known for a long time. Like when you hear like J.J. Weaver, Derek Jackson, all those guys, you think about them and you think like, oh, they're stars. They're going to make big plays throughout the game. And there's a lot of pressure on them because of that. And I don't know a ton about South Carolina's offense this year, but I just haven't heard a lot about it. So, and judging based on the performance against Old Dominion,
it was complacent.
I'm not sure they're among the best in the conference for sure. So it really does feel like they have to deliver here to keep up that status. And I mean, also the fans' relationship with Brad White is part of it too. It's been very up and down, and just be nice for them to have a solid performance here, so that fans can gain more trust in the defense and Brad White.
What do you think?
See, I'm gonna phrase it this way. So, not hate, but I'm not the biggest fan of jumping to like my professional fandoms of what teams that I like to watch. But obviously, I'm a Saints fan, and when they won the Super Bowl in 2009, their defense was one. They were very low in the points per game, and the yards they gave up were crazy. They gave up between the 20s. You could move the ball all day long, but once you got in the 20, the red zone defense is where it mattered. They led the NFL in takeaways, and when I was watching the Southern Miss game, that's what I kind of saw. Because it's not like Southern Miss. It's not like they punted the ball every single time. Their punter wasn't out there getting rep after rep after rep. They were getting in the red zone. They were just losing the ball when they got down there. So I will agree with y'all. I'll say that it is the defense that has a lot of pressure on them because I want to see, for lack of a better term, dominance. Because you can't bank on getting takeaways when Carson Beck's marching on you. You can't plan on getting takeaways when Jackson Dart's throwing the football. It's not something that's going to carry over into tougher games. So, I'll say the defense, and I'll say it for the sole reason that I want to see them play defense between the 20s and get stops, get the ball back. I mean, that's the job of the defense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say defense. But it's very close. I wouldn't say, I mean,
It's not a wide margin.
For the sole reason that everything is not so new for the offense, but just the fact that everything has to be new when you replace the quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, you can keep everything else. So you bring a new quarterback in, it changes everything because it's all set on his skill set.
Yeah, I feel like the offense would just get more grace in general for shortcomings right now, right at this moment, than the defense would.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like that almost kind of goes without saying if you've been watching Kentucky football for a while. That kind of goes without saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for that reason, I would say defense. But I guess we will all have to see. You know, so give me a prediction. You're going to be there. What are you expecting the Cats to do?
I don't know. Like you said, like we've all said, it's a 50-50 game.
Yeah.
I don't know who exactly is going to win. I mean,
definitely one possession though. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just like it's been, you know, like last year in the past few years. I don't know. Judging by week 1 performances and, you know, just what I've heard about South Carolina and everything, I think it's very much possible for Kentucky to come out on top now. You know, coming back to the home crowd, and the fans are excited after the shutout win, and yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards it. It could go either way still though. But I'm kind of leaning towards the Cats a little bit more after seeing what I saw in week 1. Wasn't that way before, like I said.
I know it's going to be harder to pick a score. We did last week for Southern Miss. Yeah. We all obviously had the same type of answer, but it was one that, you know, turned out to be semi. I mean, Jonathon was what, a field goal off?
Field goal off, yeah. I had 31-30.
So, I mean,
I know.
If you had to give me a score, what do you expect the count to be when we hear a final whistle on Saturday?
I'm kind of expecting it to be a low-scoring game, if you ask me. Just more defense. I mean, it's 17-14 last year, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be somewhere similar this year, maybe like 17-13 or something.
Okay.
I'll say that, yeah.
17-13. Cats or
Cats? Yeah.
Okay.
I'll pick that. Yep.
Yeah. So if you've been keeping up on kykernel.com, you will know that I did have them losing this ball game. I did have the Cats losing. And a large part of that was due to what I brought up earlier, but just the typical rust. Normally, Mark Stoops' teams take a couple weeks. Normally, by about week 3 is when you finally see them settled in, and then like kind of that 3, 4, 5 window till whenever Georgia hits.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, they're locked. You know, then you kind of see that. But after seeing what I saw last week, I don't see that rust. I don't see because even like you remember last year, I think it was week 2 against EKU. That was a game for too long.
At halftime.
For way too long, that was a ball game.
Yeah.
And, you know, you didn't see that against Southern Miss. Granted, it's one game, so that rust could show up and South Carolina could win. But I'm going to flip my pick. I'm going to go with Kentucky. I like Kentucky in this game now, especially with how South Carolina looked in week 1. They looked rough.
Yeah.
So unless there's just a talent pool there that just didn't show up in week 1, which is always possible, it's any given Saturday. You know,
very true.
But I'm going to take Kentucky. I'm thinking 24-17.
24-17.
24-17 Cats. Yeah, I think Cats being. I know the Cats are favored by 10 as of today. Yeah. That might have changed. On Bet ESPN, just whatever.
It's like 8.5 last I checked.
Okay,
somewhere around there.
I think it'll be pretty close. I think it'll be closer to 7. So I think anywhere between the 3 to 7 window will be where it falls. So I'm going to say 24-17.
Okay. Well, I'm not picking this for the sole reason to be indifferent. I do think that South Carolina's going to win this game. But I think it's going to be one of those losses that you have like a lot to take away from.
Okay.
I'm going to go count 27-24 Gamecocks. But it's going to be like one of those. I think Brock's going to go out there. He's going to have a solid performance. Obviously, 24-17 indicates the defense didn't have the best day.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm thinking there are going to be overall things to take away from it. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think South Carolina is going to go out there and just drag Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like
what do you think is going to be the costing thing? Do you think it's going to be a pick or a late collapse by the defense? What do you think?
The secondary.
Okay.
Because there's never been a worry about a front 7 in Kentucky. In the past 4 years, the front 7's never been too suspect.
Yeah.
There's times where it has been great, but it's typically when seasons end, 1 or 2 of those guys either do or have a pretty good shot of going professional, going
Yeah.
to the league. And I think it'll be the secondary. I just think I'm trying to remember what that guy's name is. I don't know if you've seen the wide receiver in South Carolina. He's like a menace. He's like this athletic monster.
I know who you're talking about, but I'm blanking big time.
I'm kind of hoping that he's just like raw athleticism with no skill because, you know, from what I've seen about him, he may be an issue. So
Yeah, and it's just kind of one of those things too that I think that on the defense, the few question marks, one of them is corner outside
Yeah.
of Max, who looked good. They didn't throw at him.
no,
They didn't throw at him, which I mean that's as big as a compliment as you can have as a corner, is not getting thrown at. But I do think there still could be some question marks at corner. So I mean I don't think it's ridiculous at all.
Yeah.
That could be what gets them in a tight game.
yeah. I mean, it's just with Maxwell, I just want to see because one, it's not realistic for a corner to assume that they're not going to get the ball thrown to him. It's going to happen, even
Right.
if the quarterback does know, you know, I got to put a ball up there. It might not happen, but I got to put one up there. I want to see how he reacts in those type of situations.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we had the narrative last year because everyone loves. You're like, oh, look how many interceptions he got. That's fine, but you got to get thrown out a lot for get 5 interceptions and to give up the amount of yards that he gave up.
Yeah.
So, but let's pivot a bit. Enough Kentucky football. It's the greatest time of the year. We're going to talk about this briefly. It's the greatest time of the year. It's not even a debate. The National Football League is back.
Yes, it is.
And boy, what a matchup.
Absolutely.
Boy, oh boy, what a matchup. What do we think about this opening matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens? What are we thinking?
I think tonight you're going to realize that the Chiefs are too much like the Patriots. I think you're just going to see Andy Reid do what he does, and somehow Lamar is not going to have a great game. I think the Chiefs win it. I think it has a potential to be close, but I do think the Chiefs in Arrowhead, Week 1, I don't see them dropping a Week 1 game to the Ravens. I just think it's going to be classic Andy Reid, and we're just going to have to deal with it.
Mark, what are we thinking?
I think it'll be fairly close. I mean, both teams have done really good in the offseason. You know, the Chiefs seem to be dominant no matter what roster changes and everything they go through. And I mean, the Ravens, you know, they added Derrick Henry and everything, and I think they should be an exciting team to watch this year. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs. We all know they've been dominating, and they've got the home field advantage. I'm definitely expecting them to win.
Dude, I was looking. He must be on their practice squad. So, you know, Devin Leary was obviously a sixth round pick by the Baltimore Ravens. I was looking at the depth chart for the Ravens right now, and unfortunately, their third string is blank. Oh, dude, can you imagine? Lamar and Josh Johnson injuries. Here he comes, their knight in shining armor to save the day.
Into Arrowhead.
Yeah, imagine him coming there and beating Mahomes into Arrowhead Week 1.
He would stick it. He would stick it to everybody who's been calling him trash since last season.
That would be one of the greatest stories ever. Well, Parker, I'm sure you're gonna have a great time on Saturday covering that game. It should be a heck of a game to watch. Me and Jonathon will be enjoying it.
Oh, for sure.
Who do you got, brother?
Oh, in that game?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm here.
What do we got? Oh, you're flocking.
Little birdie magic. Give me the Ravens.
Okay.
I'm gonna see some La Magic tonight.
Okay.
You know. Well, with that being said, I'm right, by the way. With that being said, we're gonna wrap this one up. Parker, have a heck of a time Saturday. It's gonna be a heck of a game to cover.
I'll enjoy it.
JB, I don't know what you're doing with your Saturday, but try to be responsible.
I got you, brother.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna get out of here. See y'all next week. We want to thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Kernel at the Buzzer. We'll be back with plenty more Kentucky football next week after their game against South Carolina. Until then, we want to encourage you to head on over to kybarkernel.com or kybarkernel sports on Twitter or X to check out all of your UK athletics coverage. Until then, I've been Colton Johnson, and we'll see you next time.